Good morning, everyone. Today we are in conversation with Ms. Kiran Manral, who is a writer, author, and novelist based in Mumbai. A very warm welcome to Ms. Kiran Manral on our platform. She speaks at 10.
Thank you so much. Namaste, India. Welcome to the show She Speaks India at 10. Thank you, Aambra Foundation and Vinita Bakshi for inviting me to this. And if you haven't been following the Aambra Foundation, I recommend you do. It's doing some stellar work in the space of women's issues. When I got invited by the Aambra Foundation to speak today, and they told me you have to speak about your story, it set me wondering because what is my story? My story, I would think, is pretty ordinary in spaces and in other parts, not so ordinary. But that's so true of everyone's story, isn't it? And I think Mitch Albom said it most beautifully when he said, your story begins with your mother's story because that's where it all begins. And for me, I think that really holds true. It holds true for all of us, but for me more so. To tell one story, there you have to filter out layers and layers. As a storyteller, I'm a writer, I'm an author, I've been a journalist. I have been telling stories all my life. That has been my job, that has been my profession, that has been my passion. But the most difficult thing to do, even as a storyteller, is to tell your own story. Because there's so much of the story that you tell, so much of the story that others know about you, and the story as it actually is, because there are different cases looking at your story. I'd like to begin with my parents. I come from an interfaith marriage. My father is a Muslim, was a Muslim. My mother is a Catholic. They grew up in the same area in Bandra. They fell in love. They didn't get married for around 14 years, then they got married. My father passed away. My mother was a single mom. She was a teacher before she got married, but she had dropped out of the workforce. Now, with my father gone, with all the security and the comfort that you know when you have a father around that had gone all of a sudden. I was barely 9 at the time. She had to pick the threads up, join the bank in the job given to her on compassionate grounds, learn banking from scratch at the age of 42, travel long distances in Bombay in public transport, something she hadn't done at all, and raise a girl single handedly with absolutely no support from anyone. I think she's a superwoman. I don't think I would be able to do that. I don't think I would have that kind of courage, that kind of fortitude. When I asked her today, how did you do it? She said, I don't know how I did it. I just did it because it had to be done. Because I think one grows up in very changed circumstances. You go from the security of having a nice, huge house and a regular, decent enough income because your father's in a decent enough position to a very constrained circumstance. It changes you as a person. It makes you go inside. I was a very bubbly and extroverted child, but after that, I became completely quiet. In fact, so quiet, I believe my mother was very worried that, how teenagers are. She was worried that I would do something to myself. But what saved me in that time were books. Why do I say this? Because I had no idea at the time that books would not only save me then, they would still continue saving me all my life, and I would want to write books. So, this is my story. This is the story of how a shy, introverted girl who was struggling to come to terms with herself, who was struggling all kinds of body issues. I was very overweight. I had uh, thick spectacles. I was not at all attractive, battling all kinds of body image issues, and on the outskirts of everything. Geographically, I was on the wrong side of the tracks. Socially, we were not very well to do. So, all these battles came to me at a very young age. And basically, it was a battle for survival because you learn how to make your way through the world, and that is the lesson only adversity can give you. I don't want to dwell too much about the adversity, but my mom was a rock star. She ensured I got an education. There were I was listening to Patricia Mukkam's speech, and she spoke about an incident where the nuns, the principal of the school, sent her back home because she hadn't paid her fees, and the exact same incident happened with me. Uh, so, these are things you grow up with. These are things you learn and you internalize, and you think that this will never happen to me again. I will never let this happen to me. So I grew up. I finished my 10th grade. I got a very decent percentage, so to say. And back in that time, if you had a certain percentage, you were expected to go into science. The clever kids went to science, and kids who were not so clever went to commerce, and the kids who were not clever at all. Use the word clever because in quotation marks, because we have a very different definition of clever in India. It's the ones who can who are good at rote learning are considered clever. So I had got a decent enough percentage, and but I wanted to do arts. I wanted to do English honors because I was in love with books. I would read till I ruined my eyes. I had like thick soda bottle glasses, and so I went by myself. I filled out my form, took admission at Metibai College. I took arts. And for a week after I had done my admission, we had, the house was like a mourning house with people coming to give condolence to my mother and saying, "Why did you let her take arts? What will she do with arts? She should have taken science." But my mom was very unfair. She was like, "Let her do what she wants to do. It's fine. Arts is absolutely fine." And for that trust she had in me, I'm very grateful today, because that kind of non-interference with your life decisions is requires a lot of grace from parents. And today that I am a parent, I realize how tough it is to stay out of your child's decision making, to not try to impose your views or your thoughts or what you think he or she should be doing on your child. So it was English honors. I graduated. I went to work straight away. I got into advertising as a copywriter. I worked as a copywriter for some time. Then I decided, actually, this penchant for laughing at inappropriate times got me into trouble. We'd gone for a pitch to a very important client. And this, in advertising, we have the word suits. Everybody has watched the serial. So this person was a typical suit. He was a puffed, puffer fish full of his own self-importance. And while we were doing the pitch and we were talking, and the seniors were being very earnest and trying to convince him, this chappie was like very full of himself, and I just burst out laughing. I think I was never invited to accompany the team on pitches ever again, and that was the end of my advertising career. I got into journalism. The Asian Age was just being set up, and I had been writing freelance articles through college thanks to a wonderful gentleman called Rauf Ahmad, who was then the editor of Filmfare. And I had been writing for Saturday Times, for Femina. Amy Fernandez, Satya Saran, who were the editors there, took a chance on me, a girl still in college, and had me write articles for them. So they knew me, and when the Asian Age was being set up, Rauf Ahmed was the bureau head. He asked me if I'd be keen to join. I had an interview, I got through. I worked at the Asian Age for some time, then I moved on to the Dalal Street Journal, which was then setting up a television channel which never got off the ground. But it was a very interesting working experience for me because I realized television is not for me. I realized that the pressure of on field work and rushing out and coming back, and then there was the editing process and all that was something that did not give me the joy of words, and words were what was important to me. So I got back to writing. I joined the Times of India's Sunday Review. I was there for a while. Then I was at Cosmopolitan, and then I got married. And after I got married, I decided to have a baby. There was some issue with me getting being able to conceive. Now this is where I come back to my body image issues. I was a tad overweight because I was this little girl who was sitting at home reading books, no physical exercise, uh, eating. So I was really huge. So at around 16 or 17, I decided that I had to do something about my weight, and I dieted myself down to stick thin levels in order to be thin, to conform to what was accepted, what I thought was, the standards of beauty. Well, I don't know about the standards of beauty. I don't think I ever fitted that. And my body structure is not, I realize now at the age of 50, not meant to be stick thin. But what it did to me was that it totally threw my hormonal system out of whack. I had polycystic ovaries, and that made it very difficult for me to conceive. I had to go in for a lot of treatments, and finally, I conceived. It was a precious pregnancy, which led to me to quit work altogether and drop out of the workforce. I was happy for a while, being mom and taking care of the kid, and it was a completely new experience to me. I had never held a baby, a newborn in my hand ever until I held my own son. So it was completely new. I thought I had no maternal instinct at all. I was a career woman, and I wanted to work and all that kind of thing. But something just snaps in you, and when you turn 30, for me, like, I didn't even realize when it happened, but it was like a neon sign in my head which went up, baby, baby, baby. Everywhere I looked, I could see babies. It became a sort of obsession with me, and that's when I, went in for all the procedures to get pregnant. I had my baby, and itchy fingers, words never really leave you. I was very bored at home. My husband had started an advertising and marketing agency at that point. So I was helping him out, I was working, but there was some sort of lacuna there. I wasn't feeling really fulfilled. So I started a blog. The blog was called Karmic Kids. It was on my, I just started it because I thought I wanted to document the growing years of my son, and I would forget, as he grew up, what he was like as a baby. So that was my intent to start the blog, and the blog went on to be very, very popular. So popular, in fact, that it was one of the leading parenting blogs in India for years running. And we were among the cohort of us who were the early mommy bloggers at this point. I started in 2005. So we were, I think, among the first generation of mommy bloggers in India, and we became a sisterhood. At this point, I also, while blogging, I was writing freelance articles. I was also working with a company called Gartner Icon Culture, which is US based. I was doing research for them. It's called Trend Spotting, and I was what is called the India Cultural Lead. And it was a very exciting thing to do because you had to look at what are the new trends in consumer behavior coming up. And for me, this was completely new. This was something I'd never done before, and it was I was learning on the job. And that's, I think learning on the job has been what I've always done. I've never trained formally for anything I've done. I did that for around 6 8 years, and at mummy, I come back to my mom is retired by now, and mom is snugly ensconced in her little house and happy with the grandchild and everything. But every year, unfailingly on my birthday, my mother would tell me, when are you writing your book? And I say, not now, mom, I'm very busy. I've got this job. I'm very busy. I'm very important. I don't have time for a book. Then, not now, mom. I'm very busy. I have a small baby. I don't have time for a book. But sometime in my distant childhood, I had told her I would write a book. And that had stayed with her. So she constantly kept reminding me of it. And one fine day, she told me, baby, you're going to turn 40 now. When are you going to write a book? Are you going to write a book at all? And that was a jolt to me. And that was something that really pushed me out of my comfort zone and made me think that if I have to do it, what am I waiting for? So, a very dear friend of mine, Parul Sharma, who had already written a book, she pushed me. She said, just start writing it. Another dear friend, Priyanka Chaturvedi, whom I'm very proud of, and now is a Rajya Sabha member. We were both school gate moms at the time. She was another friend who kept pushing me, write your book. So I wrote 3 chapters and I sent it off to a to a editor at Westland, Dipti Talwar, who very sweetly said she liked it and she would like to see the rest of the manuscript. And that is how I changed myself from a mommy blogger to an author. What was it all about? It was just about taking a chance on myself. What I didn't realize is what I'd done all these years, writing, researching, reading. All this was the riyaz that led up to this point of me writing a book. I've written 12 books since. My 13th will be out soon. 14th has been submitted to the publisher. 15th, 16th, 17th, I don't know what lies ahead. But I do know that writing books has been where I have been destined to be all my life. It's a matter of reinventing myself. Why am I telling you all this? Why am I telling you this entire Ramkatha of me writing books and how it came to me? Because I think we tend to give up our dreams too easily. We tend to, sit on our dreams. We tend to pack them away in a trunk and say we look at them later. We'll take them out later when life will ease up on us, when we'll have more time, when the kids are grown, when, the circumstances are better. What we are doing is we are afraid of confronting our dreams, taking them in our hands. Or very often, what we are doing with our lives is somebody else's dreams of us. It's not our own dreams for ourselves. I find this very, very common with women. We are terrified to believe in ourselves. We're terrified to think that we can achieve, we can do. We tend to negate our own capabilities in our heads. Don't do that. You're capable of much, much more than you can ever imagine. And it isn't a competition out there. Go out there, do what you want to do, take a chance on yourself, I would say. A lot of us don't take a chance on ourselves. By sending that first manuscript out, by opening myself up to rejection, it's a terrible business, being an author. You're constantly voluntarily opening yourself up for rejection over and over again when you send out your manuscript. And after that, it's when the readers read your books, and some are very kind, some are not so kind, some are downright mean. So you're also opening yourself up for rejection over and over again. But if you don't do that, how would you ever know what you're capable of? How would you ever know what you can be? How would you ever know that this lies within you? And all you needed to do was to push yourself to ensure that, it came out. I keep thinking, what if I hadn't taken the chance? What if I hadn't written that first book? What if I hadn't, listened to my mom? Listen to your mom. I, our parents, sometimes they are pushy, sometimes they think they know what's right for us. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if what they say speaks to you, pay heed to it. Listen to what they're telling you, listen to what your inner self is telling you. In our society, very often as women, we tend to put ourselves last. I spent around 10 years trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect daughter in law, the perfect mom, the perfect daughter. We'll never be perfect. There will always be some area of dissonance. There will always be parts where you're never, quite up to what people expect you to be. Don't kill yourself over it. We're not meant to be perfect. We're human. What you are meant to be is happy and fulfilled and content and genuinely in a space where you feel you have done all you can with your life. So, whatever it takes to get you there, do it. If it means putting yourself first, do it. If it means grabbing opportunities, do it. If it means standing up and speaking out and talking about yourself and your work, do it. Don't hide your light. There's a wonderful quote by Marianne Williamson, I think, I forget exactly who said it. By shining yourself, you give others the permission to shine. There's nothing great about, receding into the shadows, about being modest and humble. We've been brought up on that diet. Don't take up space, don't spread yourself, don't talk about yourself. It's something I struggle with, and I constantly get told by my husband that why Why are you like this? Why don't you talk about your achievements? It's taking me time and I cringe at times, but I think it is essential as women to talk about ourselves, to talk about other women who are doing wonderful stuff, to lift the sisterhood. And that is something I try to do very often, and that is something I think we all should do. Lift the sisterhood, lift other women who are doing good work, talk about them, talk about their work, tell the world about them. Because if you think talking about somebody else's good work is going to diminish your visibility, then you're not confident or secure about your own abilities. If you feel that talking about your own abilities and your own achievements is going to seem like boasting, you're not owning them. Own your own achievements. That is something that is very, very essential. I'm not saying be a nuisance and a menace, but talk about yourself. How would others know if you don't tell them? I want to come back to the issue of the body issues that plagued me all my life, and this is something I've not really spoken about on other platforms. But I think because this is a mental health counseling foundation that looks for women, I think we should talk about it. What is happening today? You have 20-year-olds selling you anti-aging cream. You have all the wrinkles photoshopped out of any photograph of an older woman. You have leading men in Hollywood, Bollywood, and also Hollywood, romancing actresses who are less than half their age. What is happening to the older woman out there? Why are we erasing the older woman? What happens after you get to a certain age? Does your shelf life date expire, and are you to be put on the shelf to never be looked at again? What kind of insecurity are we creating amongst older women when we tell them that if you have one wrinkle, you're not good enough, you're not attractive enough, only youth is worthy of being worshipped, and only beauty is important? All these messages that we're sending women and young girls are so detrimental to their mental health. We're never good enough, we're never okay. Our bodies are never good enough, our skin is never good enough, our hair is never good enough. This entire messaging, I think, is something we need to tackle head on, and we need to start with it ourselves. I try, I struggle, I know I still struggle, but it's taken me until I'm almost 50 to accept that this is who I am. I'm never going to be 5'8", and I'm never going to be, of a certain weight, and that's fine. That's okay. I mean, as long as you're relatively healthy and you're fine, just accept it. I hear young girls talking about how they're going to get a nose job or a boob job or this job or something done to themselves. And it flummoxes me as to when you're so young, you're already thinking about changing your appearance and what makes you distinct from another person. If it is something that is a glaring issue, I would understand, but these are perfectly good noses that they want to alter. Where does it stop? Where does it end? When I see this happening, it worries me because at the end of the day, are we hurtling towards an era where everybody will look like they emerged from the same cookie cutter? When I look at some of the young heroines of Bollywood today, I can't make them out. I have to call my son and say, okay, who is this? Okay, who is that? Okay, what is the difference between the two? Because honestly, I can't make. Maybe I have some sort of issue with recognizing faces. But honestly, they look all the same. Do we want to go to that where there is a cookie cutter ideal of beauty when no one is distinct? There is no distinction between one and the other. Everyone looks the same, and that is our idealized beauty, or that is what women are supposed to be like. I think the only way we can do fight this as women is to say that whoever I am, whatever I am beautiful, I am enough, and I rock. Whether we're young, whether we're old, whether we're fat, whether we're thin, whether we're curvy, whether we're lean, whatever we are enough. We're fabulous, and I think what I want to tell every woman out there today is accept yourself, celebrate yourself, know who you are, challenge yourself, and do Don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough, because you are. You're good enough, you're wonderful, but find your passion and purpose. Put yourself first. Don't put yourself on the back burner. It's taken me until my 50th year to accept myself. I hope it will take you sooner. Thank you so much.